First of all, I'd like to take this moment to apologize to every member of SCOG and every member throughout Starr County for the actions that have taken place and the way this thing came about. It was not handled appropriately, and as you've seen, I asked for and received the resignation of Mr. Perez to start this process over. I don't believe we had enough copies of the resignation letter, but we want to make sure the President got it. If anybody else wants a copy, we can give it to you. I think all the media has a copy of it. If you need it, we can give it to you. So that's the first thing I need to do is let you know that Tom, when I got up Saturday morning and I read the paper and I seen the article and your comments in reference to the surprise to some of the things that were brought to your attention, I was equally surprised and quite frankly feeling the same feelings that you were in reference to the comments that were made. As I mentioned to you before, I agree with you most of the time, and this is one of those cases that I absolutely thought that your comments were right on button. So Monday when I came into the office, we brought the team together, spent a lot of time reviewing the situation in detail with the items that were brought to our attention, and that's why I took my action yesterday afternoon to ask for the resignation. With us today, I have a copy of the 1993 job description that was written by Bob Budgate in order for him, based on his, he was taking a position at that time. So it was really kind of custom made for him at that point in time. One of the things that the city has done, when we have openings, we look at the latest job description on file, and if it's not a recent job description, we will then review it and update it. The process that was used for the update of this job description, our HR director worked with Tom Reed, the safety director. She also contacted the city of Cleveland and other communities to see what their job descriptions were for similar positions and used that to see if there was any types of changes being made. If you look at the language in this, I wanted you to have a copy of the old and the new. And one of the things that I was going to ask you today, and it goes right along with your list, Tom, is I was going to ask that if SCOG would review the job description, old and new, and make recommended changes to the job description so that we can have an updated job description before we move forward. I think the changes in this are not significant, but the outcome of the changes were definitely significant. So before we move forward with filling the position, I would like to have a recommended job description updated by this body. If you could come to that using these as a base or writing the whole thing over with. So that's my first request, and I brought you both copies so you can see what it was and what it is, and the changes that occurred. The second thing that I would like to ask is in reference to the replacement of filling this position. I'd like to put together a process with collaboration with this board. In fact, using a model that was used in the past, perhaps that this board could actually be the board that puts out the bids for the job posting, receives the resumes, reviews the resumes, and narrows it down to the final 2 or 3 best candidates and refer them to us at that one time so that you guys are not just involved, but directly involved in helping us find the most qualified candidates for this. I think it's critically important, as you had mentioned, Tom, that we do everything in our power to address and do everything we can to help create the integrity and credibility that the crime lab needs to have to function to be able to do its job and to support all of us throughout Starr County. And so to do that, I think it's important that we address the job description and make sure the hiring process is done by committee rather than an individual, so that we make sure we have multiple viewpoints on this. So I'm asking SCOG if they would move forward or at least consider moving forward with those 2 particular requests. I do have a couple of other things I'd like to address with this body on personnel issues in executive session, if that would be appropriate. And it wouldn't take very long, but there are a few things I'd like to mention in executive session. If not, I'll have to hold my tongue on those items. So if we could address those. Third, the issue of this being a civil service or appointing position. Again, just like we review the job descriptions, one of the things that has happened under this administration, under the prior administration, and under the administration prior to that, was since the late 1980s, since the late 1980s, early 1900s, When the state law changed, it created the opportunity to change the department heads from classified to fiduciaries, and one department head per department. Those changes have been cycling through the city of Canton over the last 15 or 20 years as those positions open, because the people who held those positions were grandfathered in. In this particular case, like it was grandfathered in under the old state law. This is the last, this department, the purchasing department and building maintenance were the last 3 departments in the city that converted over to the department head being the fiduciary. Whether the board is appointing or the administration is appointing, that process was a standard process taking place. It really had nothing to do with trying to beat the system or create a change that would allow us to do something specific. Every department has went through that, and this was one of the last departments that cycled through. There are no other departments left in the city that would cycle over. Everything else has been converted. So just so you know, that was something that was standard procedure, as was the job description that changed. The hiring and the process and no lack of communication, in my view, was really where the failure started. And had there been involvement from this body, regardless of the job description, those discussions by this board would have been able to take place before all hiring was made. And so from that standpoint, we can avoid that in the future. In reference to the roles of SCOG and oversight of the crime lab, that's certainly up to this body, which the city of Canton sits on, and we can certainly be part of those discussions. And I think they're certainly appropriate to have. But as it stands right now, the city of Canton is the appointed authority for this department and for that person in the position of authority of the director, and it is the safety director's as the appointed authority's responsibility to do the hiring, the firing, the disciplinary action, negotiate the wages. All that is done as we do for all the other 1,000 employees in the city of Canton. So until that changes, that's the process we have to live with. What I think is most important here is because this particular department, unlike any other department in the city, this department spends more than 50% of its time, or roughly 50% of its time, dealing with entities outside of the city of Canton. Where other departments in the city deal with the city of Canton specifically, this department services the whole county. And so that being said, I agree that there needs to be a different makeup and authority system that allows us to have accountability and unified say in this. I'm not sure we want to run it by committee, but there are a number of things that the committee or the president of the SCOG or whoever is decided to be involved in the process needs to happen. So with that, I'm certainly open to your list of ideas, many of which we've addressed, and some we're welcome to have more discussion on. But again, the most important part about this is we do apologize for the way this worked out and the negative impact it had on the entire department and the entire county, and we're doing everything in our power to undo it, fix it, and bring back equitability. So thank you for your time. And if you would, I'd like to go into executive session.
Are there, before we discuss the executive session, does anyone have any general questions or specific questions?
Yeah, I guess this might be part of the executive session. Who's running the crime lab now?
I believe we have a lieutenant from the police department that was filling in, and I'm assuming, this has happened last night, so I'm assuming that they perhaps brought them back to help out.
Martin.
Mr. Mayor, this is not the first time in the last 18 months that we've had a situation where there has been an appointment to the crime lab without the approval of SCOG. For example, the first that I'm aware of was the appointment of Chief Lawver to be the director of SCOG, or to the director of the crime lab, with absolutely no consultation, prior consultation with SCOG. Now it's my understanding that you have a lieutenant in charge of the crime lab, again without any prior consultation with SCOG. We obviously know of the situation with Chief Perez. You do understand, I presume, that this is a collaboration. This is not the Canton crime lab. It's the Stark County crime lab. It belongs to all of those 35 municipalities or entities within this county. plus the city of Canton, the city of Maston, the city of Alliance. It has worked well until the last 18 months. What changed?
I can't answer that. What I can tell you is we're here today to fix it.
Would you have any problem with, assuming that Bob Budgate would be interested even in the position, you would have no problem with Bob being an interim director of the crime lab, presuming we could work out the contractual issues?
I would like to go into executive session.
If I may, I think, again, I think that the immediate decision concerning interim director is a very important decision. I made a recommendation not knowing what the mayor or the city of Kansas position on this may be. I think it's probably important that we discuss that possibility of the name of Bob Budgate or anyone else, or any other items the mayor wishes to discuss. I don't want to short circuit this meeting though, and I would really ask that everybody be patient. I think that we need to take no more than 10 minutes to go into executive session, discuss this matter very, very quickly, and come out again, and then either there may be some action, there may not be some action or resolution from that particular meeting. But in the interest of focusing on that, which I think is probably the most important issue that we can deal with immediately to start restoring that trust and credibility in this agency, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. President, that we go into executive session to discuss personnel for the Stark County Crime Lab.
I'll bootstrap on that motion and seconded by specifying it would be for the appointment, possible appointment, compensation of a public employee to head of crime.
12122G1.
Thank you, 12122G1. We also have to name the people who are included beyond the executive committee. Scott, is there anyone else, Mayor?
No, that would be appropriate.
So the mayor of Canton, the executive committee, Scott. Second.
Mr. Burley,
Yes.
Mr. Reed, absent, Mr. Chester, I vote yes. Karen? Mr. Chapman?
No.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
And Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
This meeting should also include that article.
Here to amend that motion, Mr. Ferraro, to include our administrator. We didn't specify the administrator.
I'll make
An amendment and second, all in favor of the amendment to the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We completed the roll call, right?
Yes, we have. I looked for the record. The executive session will commence at 4 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, I'm told that we have a room available for us so people can stay.
And please know, you may stay here. We do ask you to stay only because I promise you that we will be back out here at 4:10.